Hey everyone, Toyhouze here to tell you all about Phase 6 of Classic World of Warcraft. Are you wondering what items will go up in demand and therefore you can buy ahead of the game? Wondering what's being added in Phase 6? Or want to know ahead of time what's worth stocking up on? Well, you came to the right place. We'll be covering all of that and more in this Phase 6 preparation video. If you're new here, I'm Toyhouze and I make World of Warcraft videos. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. So first up, there are two new world PvP events, one in Silithus and one in Eastern Plaguelands. Exact opposite sides of the world. The one in Silithus is called Silithyst Must Flow, and it's an event where both factions are trying to secure as much Silithyst as possible. To gather Silithyst, you need to locate a lump of Silithyst and carry it back to your encampment. While carrying it, your speed is reduced and you can't mount or use any movement enhancing abilities like sprint. You can also only carry it one at a time. And if you get damaged while carrying it, you drop it, and then any player can pick it up. First faction to collect 200 wins the race. Now, if you just listen to that, you're probably like, holy crap, this is going to be impossible to collect 200. Well, yes, you're right. It's going to be pretty hard. The rewards for turning in just one is 20 rep with the Cenarian Circle and 19 honor points. Then, whichever faction gets to 200 first will get a zone-wide buff, which increases Cenarian Circle reputation gains from monster kills by 25%. And this is also applied within AQ 20 and AQ 40, which is nice. A cool factoid about this event is that the name Silithyst Must Flow is actually an homage to the film adaptation Dune of Frank Herbert's novel Dune, which birthed the popularity of the phrase, "The spice must flow."
Listen to me, the spice must flow.
In reference to a highly valued resource in the film itself. Also, the spice in Dune is actually obtained from a desert planet, very similar in appearance to Silithus itself. Moving on to the Eastern Plaguelands, one of my absolute favorite zones filled with tons of lore and incredible quests, we have a game of towers. A game of 4 towers, to be exact. Crown Guard Tower to the south, East Wall Tower near Light's Hope Chapel, North Pass Tower to the north, and Plaguewood Tower to the northwest. Capturing these towers works very much like a tug of war. Control over a tower shifts depending on which faction has more characters with an active PvP flag in the tower's direct vicinity, basically standing near it. This same mechanic is actually used later on in the Burning Crusade quite frequently, such as in Hellfire Peninsula with the 3 towers, but I digress. Each tower offers a special bonus for capturing it. Crown Guard Tower offers a graveyard just north of the tower. East Wall Tower sends a group of units, support units to North Pass Tower, whether you control it or not. So basically they will attack or defend that tower for you. North Pass Tower will provide your faction with a usable object that will give a 5% HP buff for 30 minutes. Now this is a mandatory raiding world buff for tanks. Just kidding. I'm seriously only joking about that. Plaguewood Tower for a ghostly flight master who will allow you to fly to any of the 3 towers on a ghostly flying mount. And this is actually extra awesome because it actually allows you to get to Light's Hope much faster, considering how far Plaguewood Tower is from Light's Hope. So it's actually a really nice bonus, not to mention being able to bounce around to towers from there pretty quickly. And also, if you control all 5 towers, you will then get a zone-wide 5% damage buff, so that is just icing on the cake. Okay, so now I want to talk about the big stuff, the Scourge invasion. This is one of the most epic, awesome events in all of World of Warcraft history, in my opinion. How cool is this event? It's also a really important time to gather reagents and items that will never again be available. So let's talk about some of the amazing items you can get in exchange for necrotic runes, the new currency from this invasion. So first up is the Tabard of the Argent Dawn. This is all vanity. The Tabard does not actually do anything. Unlike in Future State WoW, where tabards offer reputation while you kill stuff, this tabard is all for show. But grab it while you can, because after the Scourge invasion, it will not be available anymore. The next item I want to talk about is much more practical, It's the Blessed Wizard Oil and Consecrated Sharpening Stones. You can acquire these from completing the quest Under the Shadow, essentially turning in 10 necrotic runes. These are actually really strong for Naxx, with one granting 60 spell damage and the other 100 attack power. These will be extremely strong for clearing Naxx. And note that you can only carry 20 of these because they are unique. So a word of advice for min-maxing guilds, have your healers stock up on these too, so you can use them on your melee and ranged DPS weapons through the trade window when they run out. So that's just another way you can have an edge for longer after the Scourge invasion event ends. Next are the Insignia of the Dawn and the Insignia of the Crusade. These are tokens introduced and can be used in exchange for epic and superior quality armaments of the battle quests. The items are nice, and it's probably worth the time to get these. You can acquire Insignias of the Dawn through turning in Dark Iron Scraps and Core of Elements, and Insignias of the Crusade through Crypt Fiend parts and Bone Fragments. Savage Fronds can also be turned in for either of the two, and you'll need to turn these in 30 at a time. So these items, without a doubt, will go up in price during Phase 6. I should also note that depending on your reputation with Argent Dawn, the number of tokens you need to turn in dramatically goes down for rewards, so it's definitely worth getting exalted, and I'll talk more about some of the benefits of that next. And while we're talking about the invasion and Argent Dawn stuff, I should also mention that the Naxx Attunement is really just a quest turn-in. So the quest, the Dread Citadel Naxxramas, requires some pricey materials and gold depending on your reputation with the Argent Dawn, like I was saying. If you're exalted, it should just be free. Otherwise, it will cost you arcane crystals, nexus crystals, and righteous orbs, going up in quantity depending on your reputation. So honored, revered will cost. Honored will cost the most, revered will cost less, and exalted will be free. And while we're talking about materials needed for Naxx, let's talk about Tier 3, the most exciting part about Naxx items and materials. The first quest you'll need to complete is Echoes of War. Basically, go into Naxx and kill trash mobs. Then you'll have the quest to create your Tier 3 unlocked. This quest will require you to have the token that dropped in Naxx. It's going to basically be called Desecrated XYZ. So, for example, Desecrated Breastplate for Warrior and Rogue, Desecrated Belt for Priest, Mage, Warlock, etc. It will also require some materials. Now, one of these is the War-Torn Cloth Scrap, War-Torn Leather Scrap, or you guessed it, War-Torn Plate Scrap. These are also just going to drop off of Naxx Trash. In addition to those, you'll also need some pricey reagents: Arcanite bars, Nexus crystals, Arcane crystals, Moon cloth, large brilliant shards, and so on, depending on which class you are. So it is definitely worth looking up specifically for you and your class what is going to be required to craft it, because it's, depending on what class, so you can get your hands on these items before Phase 6 drops, because those items I just listed off, those are definitely going to be going up in price. Now, the last thing I'd like to mention about Naxx to really benefit you is the resist gear and potions. So, like AQ, Naxx is going to call for a number of resistance items, particularly Greater Frost Protection potions and Frost Resistance gear. Now, Frost Resistance gear for Naxx is mostly used during the Sapphiron fight. Sapphiron has Frost Aura, which is a damage over time to everyone within 100 yards. That means you can't avoid it if you want to do damage, as well as a number of other Frost AoE abilities inflicting damage, making it a healing-intensive fight. Frost Resistance gear across the entire raid reduces incoming damage and makes things much, much more manageable for your healers. Frost gear can be crafted after speaking with Master Craftsman Omarion, located just inside the Death Knight wing of Naxxramas. That's right, he's inside the actual raid. So the first room where the cages are, just before the instructor's room, he actually offers exclusive craft patterns for master crafters at a revered or exalted standing. Another reason to increase your reputation. So master tailors can learn to craft the Glacial set. Glacial wrists, gloves, vests, and cloak. Then master leather workers can learn the polar and icy scale sets. That would be the polar bracers, gloves, tunic, and icy scale bracers, gauntlets, and breastplate. And then last, we have master blacksmiths, which can create the Icebane set. Icebane bracers, gauntlets, and breastplate. And again, these sets are going to be very important for the Sapphiron encounter, and all of them require Essence of Water. So I expect that single item to probably be the one that goes up in price the most. And if you wanted to be an overachiever, you could actually also get Chillwind Eco for Juju Chill. Last, for the Spiderwing, you won't need nature protection or poison cleansing elixirs for Faralina. The way to do that fight is to mind control an ad and sacrifice it to silence her and remove her enrage, which makes her tankable and also removes poison volleys. Although, you will want to also stock up on Greater Shadow Protection potions, Whipper Root Tubers, and Heavy Runecloth bandages for the Lotheb fight. That will definitely be a requirement. But one part for Naxx that I'm really looking forward to is the notorious Four Horsemen. This is generally regarded as one of the most difficult encounters of pre-Burning Crusade World of Warcraft. The coordination, the timing, and really the unforgiving nature made them one of the hardest bosses in the instance, along with Gothic the Harvester and kel'thuzad. Contrary to the other encounters in Naxxramas, where more DPS or just simply burning down would really help, this encounter really focused on taking your time to defeat the boss, being coordinated, being orderly. I think it stands to this day as the most amount of time a single encounter laid undefeated, while also not requiring any retuning or bug fixing at approximately 7 weeks compared to the 3 to 5 days for Sunwell Plateau bosses. The raid setup of the encounter also required an excessive number of tanks, meaning that even once guilds had figured out what to do, it actually took a lot of extra time just to prepare the requisite number of tanks for the encounter. Not to mention, if your taunt gets resisted, you're in trouble. So, getting Nat Pagel's Broken Reel for the 10% increased chance to hit with spells is actually best in slot for tanks for this fight. Very niche item. So, this fight just gives me chills saying all of that. It's a very historic, memorable fight that we all get to re-experience together. Also, one of the most epic items in Classic WoW drops off them, the Corrupted Ashbringer. Now, many people came back to play Classic just to wield this item, and it is quite powerful, especially for Retribution Paladins. What's also neat about this fight is they appear to be based on the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse from the Book of Revelation, said to bring the end of the world. Zeliek as the White Rider of Conquest, Mograine as the Red Rider of War, Blemieux as the Black Rider of Famine, and Kel'thuzad as the Pale Rider of Death. So that's some cool lore for you. Whether or not that's actually accurate is up to you, but I found it online, so I wanted to share. And as we exit Naxx and go back into the open world, there have been some new additions with Phase 6. There's a new rank of Ferocious Bite from the Beast in Upper Blackrock Spire, a new rank of Flame Shock from Pyroguard Emberseer in Upper Blackrock Spire, a new rank of Conjure Food from Archivist Galford, and by the way, while you're there, it wouldn't hurt to gather some Stratholme Holy Water for that extra damage versus Undead. There's also a new rank of Eviscerate from Blackrock Assassins and Blackrock Spire, and last, Shadow Ward for Warlock and Frost Ward for Mages are new world drops in Phase 6. Other than the new ranks of spells, there's also new resistance gear other than the Frost gear. The nature resistance gear that I wrongly predicted would be out in Phase 5 should now actually be out. The Iron Vine set, the Sylvan set, and the Bramblewood set, as well as Gaia's Embrace, a nice nature resistance cloak. So if you still don't have nature resistance for AQ, should be a lot easier now. And that is the end of my Phase 6 preparation guide. I hope this guide hyped you up and gave you a sneak peek of what's to come and what items to start gathering now. Phase 6 is the final phase of World of Warcraft Classic, and what's to come next, we still don't know for sure. Either way, I can't wait to play some World of Warcraft, and if you guys like this video, give it a like, and if you want more like it, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
The end is upon you. The races of the world will perish. It is only a matter of time. The sky